Alright, so Toyota just pulled the curtain back on the 2026 RAV4, and I've gotta say, this might be the biggest update we've seen in years. If you've been waiting for Toyota to really step up their game in the compact SUV space, this is it. They didn't just give it a little refresh, they went all in. And honestly, I think this is going to shake up the entire segment. So grab a coffee, settle in, because we're about to dive deep into everything that makes the 2026 RAV4 special, and trust me, there's a lot to talk about. So let's start with what everyone's going to notice first, the looks. And wow, Toyota really listened to the feedback because the 2026 RAV4 looks aggressive. Like, genuinely aggressive. Gone are the days of the safe, boring family SUV design. This thing has presence now. When you see it on the road, you're actually going to turn your head. Toyota's design team clearly decided that playing it safe wasn't cutting it anymore, especially when you've got vehicles like the Mazda CX-50 and the new Honda CR-V looking as good as they do. The front end is where Toyota really made their statement. The grille is bolder, more angular, and it's got this almost trapezoidal shape that gives it a wide, planted stance. The LED headlights are slimmer than before, but they're sharper too. They've got that intense look that says this SUV means business. And the way they've integrated the LED daytime running lights? Chef's kiss. It all flows together so nicely. There's this black trim piece that connects everything across the front fascia, and depending on which trim you get, you'll see different styling cues. The TRD and Adventure models, for example, get these chunky skid plates and more aggressive lower bumper designs that really emphasize the off-road capability. Moving to the side, you'll notice the body lines are more defined. There's this character line that runs from the front fender all the way to the taillights, and it gives the RAV4 a more athletic, sculpted appearance. The wheel arches are more pronounced too, especially on the Adventure and TRD models, which really plays up that rugged, go-anywhere vibe. You can get up to 19-inch wheels depending on the trim, and they look fantastic filling out those arches. Around back, the taillights got the same treatment as the headlights. They're sleeker, more modern, with LED signatures that you'll recognize immediately at night. The rear bumper is more sculpted too, and there's a nice diffuser-style element on some trims that adds a sporty touch. Now, let's talk about where you're actually going to be spending your time, the interior. And this is where I think Toyota really leveled up. Because let's be honest, previous RAV4 interiors were functional, sure, but they weren't exactly exciting. The 2026 model? Totally different story. The moment you open the door, you notice the quality. The materials feel more premium, there's soft touch surfaces where it matters, and the overall design is just cleaner and more modern. It honestly feels like they took some cues from Lexus, which makes sense since Toyota's been pushing to elevate their mainstream lineup. The dashboard layout is driver-focused but not cluttered. Everything's where you'd expect it to be, but it looks way more upscale than before. The big star here is the infotainment screen. You're getting a 12.3-inch touchscreen on most trims, and it's beautifully integrated into the dash. It's not just slapped on top like an afterthought. The graphics are crisp, the response time is quick, and thank goodness, they kept physical controls for climate and volume. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto come standard, which is great, and the whole interface is way more intuitive than the previous generation. Behind the steering wheel, you've got a 7-inch digital driver display that gives you all your key info, speed, trip data, safety alerts, in a clear, customizable format. Seating comfort is excellent across the board. The front seats have good bolstering without feeling too snug, and there's plenty of adjustment range. Heated and ventilated seats are available depending on the trim, and the higher-end models get power adjustments with memory settings. The back seat is roomy enough for adults on longer trips. There's decent legroom and headroom even with taller passengers. And the panoramic sunroof, which is available on several trims, really opens up the cabin and makes it feel more spacious. Cargo space is still one of the RAV4's strong suits. You're looking at just over 37 cubic feet behind the rear seats, and with them folded down, you get close to 70 cubic feet. That's competitive with just about anything in this class. Okay, let's get into what's under the hood, because this is where the RAV4 has really been dominating lately. The hybrid powertrain is back and better than ever. You're getting a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine paired with electric motors, producing a combined 219 horsepower. Now, that might not sound like a ton on paper, but the electric motors give you instant torque, so the power delivery feels really smooth and responsive around town. But here's the kicker, you're getting around 40 miles per gallon combined. 40. In an all-wheel drive SUV with this much space and capability. That's honestly incredible when you think about how much you'll save at the pump, especially with gas prices being what they are. And then there's the RAV4 Prime. If you want performance, this is where it's at. The Prime takes that same hybrid setup and cranks it up to 302 horsepower. That's legitimately quick for a compact SUV. We're talking 0 to 60 in around 5.5 seconds. That's faster than a lot of sports sedans. But it's not just about straight-line speed. The Prime is a plug-in hybrid, so you get about 40 miles of pure electric range. For a lot of people's daily commutes, that means you might not use a drop of gas during the week. You just plug it in at night, and you're good to go. And when you do need the gas engine, you've still got that impressive fuel economy. It's really the best of both worlds, performance and efficiency in one package. Now, if you're more into adventure and off-roading, Toyota hasn't forgotten about you either. The Adventure and TRD off-road trims are built for getting off the pavement. You get higher ground clearance, more rugged suspension tuning, and all-wheel drive that can actually handle some serious terrain. There's a multi-terrain select system that lets you choose different drive modes: mud, sand, rock, that kind of thing, and the vehicle adjusts throttle response, traction control, and braking to match the conditions. The TRD model even gets special shocks and all-terrain tires right from the factory. I'm not saying this is a Jeep Wrangler, but for fire roads, camping trips, ski resorts, and moderate trails, the RAV4 is super capable and way more comfortable for everyday driving. Safety is obviously a huge priority for Toyota, and the 2026 RAV4 comes loaded with their latest Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 suite. This is all standard, by the way, across every trim. You're getting adaptive cruise control that works in stop-and-go traffic, lane departure alert with steering assist, automatic high beams, and pre-collision warning with pedestrian and cyclist detection. The system can even detect motorcycles now, which is a nice update. Blind spot monitoring and rear cross-traffic alert are standard on most trims too. And the cameras, oh man, the camera system is fantastic. You get a 360-degree view on the higher trims, which makes parking and navigating tight spaces so much easier. There's even a feature that shows you a live view of what's happening under and around the vehicle when you're off-roading. Let's talk money, because pricing is always a big part of the decision. The 2026 RAV4 starts at around $31,000 for the base LE trim. That's pretty competitive, especially considering everything you get standard. Move up to the XLE, and you're looking at about $33,500, which adds more comfort and convenience features. The XLE Premium sits around $36,000 and gets you that bigger touchscreen, nicer upholstery, and more tech. If you want the off-road stuff, the Adventure trim starts around $38,000, and the TRD off-road is right in that same ballpark. For the hybrids, you're adding about $1,500 to $2,000 to those prices, which honestly pays for itself pretty quickly with the gas savings. And the RAV4 Prime? That tops out around $43,000, which is definitely a jump, but you're getting that incredible performance and electric range. When you look at those numbers, the value is really strong. Especially when you consider Toyota's reputation for reliability and resale value. RAV4s hold their value better than almost anything else in this segment. 5 years down the road, you're going to get way more back when you trade it in or sell it compared to a lot of competitors. Plus, the warranty is solid, 3 years or 36,000 miles bumper to bumper, and 5 years or 60,000 on the powertrain. Hybrid components get 8 years or 100,000 miles. That kind of peace of mind is worth something, especially if you're planning to keep this vehicle for a while. So how does it stack up against the competition? Well, the Honda CR-V is probably the most direct rival. The new CR-V is really nice, great interior, smooth ride, efficient powertrain. But the RAV4 edges it out in a few key areas. The hybrid RAV4 gets better fuel economy than the CR-V's hybrid. The RAV4 has more rugged, off-road capable trims that Honda just doesn't offer. And while the CR-V might have a slightly more refined highway ride, the RAV4 feels more substantial and durable. If you're someone who prioritizes reliability and long-term value, Toyota's track record speaks for itself. The CR-V is great, don't get me wrong, but the RAV4 is just a safer bet for a lot of buyers. Then you've got the Mazda CX-50 and Nissan Rogue. The CX-50 is probably the most fun to drive in this class. Mazda knows how to make a car handle. It's also gorgeous inside and out. But it's not as efficient as the RAV4 hybrid, and it doesn't have the same off-road chops. The Rogue is comfortable and spacious, with a nice interior, but it lacks the performance punch of the RAV4 Prime and doesn't have Toyota's reliability reputation. Basically, if driving dynamics are your #1 priority, maybe look at the Mazda. But if you want the total package, efficiency, capability, reliability, tech, and space, the RAV4 is hard to beat. Comparing it to the previous generation RAV4, the improvements are really clear. The older models were practical and reliable, no doubt, but they felt a bit basic inside, and the tech was starting to show its age. The 2026 model feels like a genuine step forward in refinement. The ride quality is better, it's quieter on the highway, handles bumps more smoothly, and just feels more solid overall. The interior is light years ahead in terms of materials and design. And the tech, both the infotainment and the safety systems, is so much better. If you've been holding on to an older RAV4 waiting for the right time to upgrade, this is it. So who is this perfect for? Honestly, the RAV4 has always had broad appeal, and the 2026 model continues that tradition. If you're a small family looking for something practical, safe, and efficient for daily driving and road trips, this checks every box. If you're a commuter who wants to save on gas and maybe drive electric most days, the RAV4 Prime is a no-brainer. Adventure seekers and outdoor enthusiasts will love the TRD and adventure trims for weekend getaways. Even if you're just someone who wants a reliable, well-built vehicle that you won't have to think about for the next decade, the RAV4 delivers. It's versatile in a way that few vehicles are. At the end of the day, Toyota took what was already the best-selling SUV in its class and made it even better. They addressed the styling complaints, upgraded the interior quality, kept the legendary reliability, and continued to lead in hybrid technology. The 2026 RAV4 isn't trying to be flashy or groundbreaking, it's just really, really good at what it does. And sometimes that's exactly what you need. It's not going to win every comparison test on driving excitement or luxury, but when you add up all the factors, value, efficiency, capability, safety, reliability, and now genuinely good looks, it's tough to argue with the overall package. If I had to pick one trim to recommend, it would probably be the XLE Hybrid. You get that excellent 40 miles per gallon, a solid level of features and comfort, the bigger touchscreen, and you're not breaking the bank. It's right in that sweet spot of value and capability. But if you've got the budget and want something special, the RAV4 Prime is absolutely worth the extra money. The performance is addictive, and that electric range is so useful for daily driving. And hey, if you're an off-road person, the TRD is calling your name, it's just too much fun not to consider. So that's the 2026 Toyota RAV4. A smarter, sharper, more capable version of America's favorite SUV. Whether you're upgrading from an older model or cross-shopping the entire compact SUV segment, this definitely deserves a spot on your test drive list. I'm really curious to hear what you think. Are you team RAV4, or is there another SUV in this class that you'd pick instead? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe because we've got tons more reviews, comparisons, and car buying advice coming your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.